Sound check. 1, 2. Test. 1, 2.
You're ready to get started. We'll do the roll call of members, and then I'll identify who's in the room in Lubbock.
Perfect. All right. And Ben, do we have outside people, or is it just Regents and administration?
In the room here in Lubbock, it's only internal administration members, but we are video casting the call as required by the Open Meetings Act. So external parties could be connected via the internet and listening to what's going on.
Very good. Thank you. Perfect. All right. Okay. The meeting of the Board of Regents of the Texas Tech University System is now called to order. Mr. Locke, will you please call the roll so we may establish a record of attendance?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I call your name, will you please indicate your presence? Mr. Esparza. Mr. Esparza?
Here.
Mr. Hammonds?
Here.
Mr. Huckabee?
Here.
Mr. Lancaster?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Present.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Steinmetz?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Lujan?
Here.
Chairman Francis?
Here.
In the room here in Lubbock, we have President Skubinik. On the line, we have Chancellor Duncan. Also present in the room is Kirby Hocutt, John Huffaker, John Shelton, Victor Mellinger, Gary Barnes, Noel Sloan, and Michaela Bryant, Christina Martinez, Tommy Stevens, and myself. So, two things to keep in mind as we proceed through this teleconference meeting. It's requested that if any member must disconnect from the call prior to the conclusion of the meeting, please notify the chairman at the time that you leave so we can keep a record of that. Also, for teleconference meetings, it is required that before each person speaks, they must clearly identify themselves. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Ben. I'd like to call on Kirby Hocutt to present the item regarding the contract with Learfield Communications.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate this opportunity to bring forward this item. I want to thank Chancellor Duncan, President Skubinek for their support in this recommendation and this opportunity today. What we seek is approval to allow President Skubinek to execute a contract extension with Learfield. As all of you know, Learfield is our multimedia rights holder. We have an 8-year partnership, and I would say it's a very strong 8-year partnership with Learfield Communications in this category. Learfield is one of the major players in this particular space within our field. Enters into their new sales cycle this coming year in July, and so we appreciate this opportunity to seek permission to execute a contract extension. Significant financial incentive for Texas Tech Athletics to do this deal at this time. Significant revenue opportunities. The increase in guaranteed revenue compared to our previous deal is a 112% increase in guaranteed revenue for Texas Tech Athletics over the next 10 years. The new agreement represents an annual royalty as well as capital subsidy payments, which are both fully guaranteed to the athletics department. In addition, should a specified annual percentage of Learfield's gross sales exceed the guaranteed royalty amount in any year, then we will also receive the overage as a revenue share. Want to thank John Huffaker and his team, they provided tremendous direction and counsel. As we had the opportunity with the Finance and Administration Committee a couple of weeks ago to update them on the ongoing negotiations, there were really 5 components to this new agreement that we were able to negotiate to our liking. There were negotiations related to the 3rd-tier broadcast of some of our games. Another one was related to the capital subsidy provided. A third area that required significant negotiation pertained to game day sponsorship zones that we worked hand in hand with institutional advancement to get to the best place for Texas Tech. The 4th category were performance bonuses, and then the last category in my report was presenting sponsorships that John and his team were in negotiating to our liking. So Learfield is a great partner. We have 2 years remaining on our current deal. We're asking for an 8-year extension, which would be a new 10-year partnership with Learfield Communications, again, a strong partner for Texas Tech Athletics. So with that, would be happy to entertain any questions or comments related to this particular agenda item.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, it's John Esparza. I had just a quick question, really a clarification. Kirby, one of those items that you mentioned on the game day memberships, no, actually the 3rd-tier broadcast, as I read through that, evidently we've been in a position where if Learfield chooses not to broadcast a baseball game or a soccer match or whatever the case may be, this allows you the option to go with other partners if they decline. Is that just as, that's just strictly how I read that? Is that exactly how that comes into play? We're going to see with this contract the potential to have more broadcasted sports games should you have interested parties?
Yes, sir. So if Learfield broadcasts the number of games that they are contractually obligated to, and then Texas Tech Athletics wishes to televise an additional game, then what we've negotiated is we have the opportunity to do so. Texas Tech Athletics would pay for the production expenses, and we would then have the authority or opportunity, if we wanted, to show the commercials and the advertisements of Learfield's partners. We just can't go out and seek new partnerships or sponsors to cover the cost of that broadcast. Regent Esparza, probably the best example I can use was this year. Our baseball team, our last home series of the year was against Kansas. Learfield had already satisfied their obligation for all of their 3rd-tier networks. We knew we had the opportunity to share the conference championship on that Sunday, so we wanted to televise that Sunday broadcast. We were allowed to do that. Texas Tech Athletics paid for production cost. We were able to show all of the university, the systems, promotional commercials, athletics promotional commercials, and then some of the Learfield inventory. So the key there is we are able to broadcast any Texas Tech athletic event that we may want and desire to do that is above and beyond Learfield's obligation, as long as we do not go out and solicit other corporate sponsors to pay for that broadcast.
Okay, I see. So that was, at that particular instance on that Sunday, you were able to do what this contract will now allow you to do under that 3rd-tier provision?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Additional comments? Regent Steinmetz, would you like to comment on the Finance Committee's review of this?
Yes, sir. The Finance Committee, as Coach Hocutt briefly mentioned, met a couple of weeks ago. We would like to not only commend Athletic Director Hocutt and his team, along with Huffaker, for the expeditious manner in which they went through this contract, but also Mr. Huffaker and the legal team for getting one that clearly allows us to be in a better position, not only through the extension of what would have been in 2 years, but also over the next 2 years. So I know there were a number of questions that were asked by the committee. I appreciate Michael Lewis, and unfortunately, Regent Huckabee had to miss that call due to a loss in the family, but we were able to address a number of the questions that they have, and it has our full support going forward.
Then I'd entertain a motion for the approval of this item.
This is Tim, so moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Michael Lewis will second.
We have a second by Michael Lewis. All those in favor say, oh, Ben, you need to do a roll call.
Yes, sir. Members, as I call your name, would you please indicate whether you are in favor or opposed to approval of the proposed contract? Mr. Esparza?
Aye.
Mr. Hammonds?
Aye.
Mr. Huckabee?
Aye.
Mr. Lancaster?
I approve.
Mr. Lewis?
Approved.
Mr. Long?
Approved.
Mr. Steinmetz?
Aye.
Mr. Walker?
Approved.
Chairman Francis?
Approved.
Mr. Chairman, you have a unanimous vote in favor.
Well, congratulations to Kirby and the team, and congratulations to Texas Tech. Looks like a great contract going forward. Is there any other business that's come before us? Then I move to adjourn the meeting. The meeting of the Board of Regents for Texas Tech University System now stands adjourned.
Thank you.